Terry got married again.
Del, that story of the mom's mentioned a couple times about the murder. Could you talk about that a little bit without mentioning who you think did it and all? Just to.
Oh, yeah, tell him how Dad.
Yeah, what you were saying
Well,
in the car.
there was a man murdered up there, Sherman Griffey. But now don't play this for no Liza nobody. And he was murdered up there, and somebody come and told him that Sherman Griffey was murdered up there. So they went up there, but they went in. One of our neighbors, old Cy Cornett, he was real old, and Dexter Dixon and Daddy with
You
him.
didn't tell that wrong. You just told him about Dad going to get somebody or anything.
Well, Daddy went and down to the store and said it. They said Sherman Griffith was murdered up there. So Wilson Browning said he seen Sherman that morning. Well, they wouldn't come with Daddy. And then he come up to the mouth of Burr Branch to Uncle Cy Cornett, and he got Uncle Cy Cornett and Dexter Dixon. And they come up. Brother Dexter was a boy about 14 years old, and William Cornett, my sister-in-law's husband, William Cornett.
This is supposed to.
My sister-in-law's father.
I caused her to say that.
I know you did. And they went up there, and Uncle Cy, his hat was on his face, and he went and lifted it up to see if it was Sherman Griffin, and it was. And they finally got the law from Whitesburg in.
And our Dad felt so bad if they had told him sooner, he might have been able to save his life.
And Daddy made stretchers out of 2 poles and a blanket, and they carried him up the mountain through the old field, around top of the ridge, and down into Prairie County to where his mother lived, Elizabeth Griffey, and his wife and kids. That night.
And his wife, they had how many children?
They had 4.
And it was all over running around with a married woman
That caused it.
that caused the death.
So he was, what was his name? Sherman?
Sherman Griffin.
And who was he married to?
He was married to
Lorena.
Oh, listen, Sherman Griffey lady was married.
Oh.
He was married to Frank Browning's daughter, Cassie Browning was her name.
And Elizabeth Griffey was his mom's name.
Elizabeth was.
She lived way around the top of the mountains.
Well, she lived down on Elizabeth Ranch. Grandpa Smith sold her that place over there. I found a deed last year where he sold.
And there was nobody to look into this because there was only one old lady, and she had a blind son, and then his wife and little children, and there was nobody to see to find out who really killed him.
This unsolved murder.
But this married woman confessed to killing him, which they said she really didn't. She hired somebody to kill him. Now, is that all right?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good to me.
You can't call the name.
It's true.
True.
Now, that's really true. And I used to go up there, and I could see the blood on the floor, and I was scared.
I stayed up there in the morning, the night, I was 16 years old next morning in this house with Scott Wright's kids where Sherman Griffey was murdered. And they built a new room onto the house where the murder wasn't committed, but we stayed in that room where that he was murdered. And you could not get the blood up off the floor.
And my dad said he thought he was killed on top of the mountain and drugged down there.
And there was a fireplace, and this blood was still on the wall. It looked like it'd been a spinning out of a bullet hole or something. It must have plugged it, Dad said, and they let it spin around there and you never could get down.
How many times was he shot?
I sure don't know.
So they brought him down to that Lizzie's house, down the house she had lived in way up at the head of the creek.
That's what I meant.
That's where it was killed.
And did anybody live in that house after that?
Yes,
Scott
that
Wright did.
Preacher
Wright
Wright
did.
Preacher Wright cleaned it up and moved
They
it.
built another room onto it, and he lived up there 3 or 4 years. I don't recall.
And then a fire, when the forest fire took it, took the house
Yeah, the
after
forest
he had
fire
left it.
burned. It sure did.
And then Lizzie moved up to the.
And then she moved up above the
The
Jake
old home
Smith's
place.
Jake Smith's home.
Was his home still there at the time?
Oh, sure.
Her
Her daddy
lived there.
died, and she moved back, and Aunt Han would stay down at the grandfather's house. She had her chickens and her eggs and everything down there. But in the night, she went up and stayed with Lizzie and Liza and Art separated, and then Nan went to stay with Rainey till Liza bought him a home on Gillum Hill over both oldest.
Nobody lived there after that.
Nobody
It's just
lived
an old
there.
house.
And what happened to Liza's house? Was it taken down or did it get burned down?
Well, they sold it to Kentucky River, and Si bought it and hauled it to Burbank and made him a chicken house.
He bought the lumber.
He bought the lumber.
It was a plank house.
It was a plank house.
So all that's left there now, Mason told me today that he talked to Si and Si said he could have those rocks or something. He hauled the rocks on.
Oh, sure, Si hauled them.
So all that's left there now is the hole that was the foundation and the well,
Yeah, and well.
and then some apple trees.
Liza walked up there last year when the
Somebody-
day before she was 85 years old and looked down in her well, and we rested a while, and she bid her well goodbye, so she would never be up there anymore.
Hmm.
She won't ride. She don't want to ride up there in the
Did
Jeep.
she ever speak about making the mistake of leaving?
No. She couldn't.
Her husband tried to kill her, so she
She
got
couldn't.
his pistol away from him. She threw it in the well, and it's still there in the well.
In the bottom of that well right now, 30 especially.
Because he was bringing women home and stuff, he was stepping out on them. And he got so mean, he wanted